Serious, people who worked at hotels during furry anime sci-fi comic other conventions. What crazy shit did you see go down? I got arrested at a con my company went to every year to buy magic cards after drinking all day doing some blow. They called the cops because we were stupid enough to smoke way too much weed in the hotel room. Sober now 3 years. I was nice enough to take the blame for everyone since my boss was there, but I remember getting to the station and the cops asking me about all the weirdos at the hotel and the lady cap asking about the packs of magic cards in my pocket, and the other cap replied with, "You don't know what magic cards are," as she looked at him like he was such a nerd for knowing. Sorry for any grammar errors, it's not my strong suit. I worked a Halloween beard growing competition heavy metal concert costume contest. Pretty sweet combo, right? Anyway, the whole event was 2 days of weed and beer fueled partying. It attracted such a strange combination of attendance. The event rented out every room in the hotel as well as gave us a cut of raffle proceeds and such. Because of this, I got a lot of leeway on not just hotel policy but frankly laws. I saw 3 things an hour that should have had the police there. One dude was getting a tattoo of a vagina on his chest in a hallway. Enough said. Another was so drunk and high he lost his wallet and room key, forgot what room he was in, and couldn't remember what name his room was rented under. So we gave him a pillow and blanket and he passed out on a couch in the lobby. Apparently in the middle of the night he decided he was gonna find his room or something because we found him sleeping on another couch on the 3rd floor. Since he didn't bring the blanket or pillow, he went in a bathroom and took all the toilet paper and covered himself in that to keep warm. Since the hotel was extremely old, the woman's restroom in the lobby had an old school powder room with furniture. At one point I saw a couple completely naked having sex on one of the chairs. The whole event was so surreal I'm still not entirely sure it wasn't just an extremely elaborate hallucination. A friend who was a DJ at a local hospital radio station in Scotland told me this. One day he was on and had a list of requests. One request was for a Scottish band that was famous for their loud traditional dance music, kilt swinging, sporran stirring, Bonnie Prince Charlie type stuff. Unfortunately he did not have the requested slow song, so played another. Here's to you Dougal, hope you're up dancing a jig as fast as possible. The record was less than half through when a nurse busted the door open. You daft wee bastard. He's just had both fucking legs off. Our hotel was full during Fan Expo and Comic-Con each year due to the proximity to the convention center where they are held. Around midday Saturday the fire alarm goes off and everybody needs to hold position until cleared by fire department and security. People were missing autograph signings, costume awards etc. and were pissed. The guilty party was a guest cosplaying as Princess Bubblegum. She had literally painted herself pink with an aerosol spray that triggered our smoke detectors. It took around 10 minutes to clear the hotel and resume operation. The whole time the lobby filled with disgruntled heroes and villains who finally found a common enemy in the hotel staff, demanding compensation and answers until it was apparent this whole situation was caused by one of their own. I live in a lively seaside town and work in a cafe right next door to my town's Comic-Con. I love the costumes and it's usually a pretty chilled event. Unlike some others I could mention, last year, our Elvis competition and Armed Forces Week coincided with Comic-Con. At one point, a fight broke out between a Spider-Man and an Elvis right on the square in front of our windows because said Spider-Man drunk rolled into a Dalek, which turned out to be a man in a wheelchair underneath. If that wasn't bizarre enough, the pair being restrained by a bunch of soldiers and observed by a crowd of other assorted mythical creatures and Elvises, LVI, definitely took the biscuit. The Dalek was fine. The Spider-Man was removed from the situation and I couldn't tell which Elvis had been fighting once it was over. A woman who was so obese she couldn't clean between her rolls and smelled so terrible the con managers and hotel staff had to ask her to leave. Guy pulled up to valet his shitty van and he had loose catalytics in the car. Didn't believe the valets until I checked myself. A group of furries get so fucked up on something they just collapsed in the lobby and we had to call ambulances for multiple near and fursuited wolves. Guy shoved a pocket pussy into a hairdryer and nearly set the hotel on fire. I have so many more. Regular convention I attended that had a hentai based late night panel. After a few regular shenanigans, One girl got up front and stripped everything off in 2 swift moves. Conventions I've worked at, I got to see various VIP ghost actors rip roaring drunk. Indeed, some of the actors are talented enough to fake not being drunk long enough to get through their panel with fans. Security catches lots of teens trying to have sex in pretty much any place they think they can get away with it. Behind the scenes, I don't listen to J-pop, but J-pop groups are super fun people in general. Not a crazy fact, but neat anyway. Behind the scenes with an actor, I was not expecting you to be wearing a penis necklace tucked under your shirt everywhere you go. If you see this, you know who you are. We still have a picture of you sticking it in my wife's ear. LOL. I was working in a hotel near this furry convention, and one of the cleaners asked me to come check on this room with them because apparently they'd found some weird stuff in there. I asked them what was wrong, and when we got to the room she pointed out what she found. It was basically a normal furry costume but had massive holes cut out on the chest. It had no legs and a gap over where the genitals would be. Alongside it, we found some BDSM type leather stuff, whips, a taser, and a 5-sided dildo. Even the dildo was covered in hair. I live in San Diego. When Comic-Con rolls around, if you are going to the malls where all of the out-of-towners are sleeping, you will see some hilarious groups waiting, like a shitty Elsa next to mediocre Final Fantasy characters next to a really well done Galactus. Also, my dad works for SDGE, San Diego Gas and Electric, and he had to work down near the convention center once. He said it was hilarious because you had these really pretty model girls that were wearing high as hell high heels advertising certain things. He also had to tell a Chewbacca to move so he could park, and the guy stayed in character to basically go, "Come on man." When I was working security at a university for one of the anime conventions, I was asked by the organizing committee to tell one of the vendors to fuck off. They had been drinking in the main hall, smoking weed out in the courtyard, and generally being pretty unpleasant. It was a family event with a lot of kids around, so the organizers decided this was unacceptable. Predictably, the main guy didn't take it very well, and considering over half of the people attending that con were some description of LGBT and had been buying his products for the past day, I was somewhat surprised at the level of homophobia and transphobia being directed at me. "You can have gays and trans walking around, but we can't have a drink," and directed at me, he, she, or whatever it is. Now, irrelevant, but I'm not even trans. You develop a thick skin in the security industry though, and I've heard every gay insult in the book and a few more besides. I was trying not to laugh. The organizer who had accompanied me to talk to him was almost in tears though, especially when he started to get aggressive and I had to intervene. She actually had a full-on breakdown after due to some trauma from a past event. I didn't ask for details. After a nice scene in front of the remaining congoers and threatening to do lots of nice things to me, he eventually fucked off, taking his friends with him. TLDR, an arsehole vendor drinking, smoking, and being unpleasant around kids at an LGBT-friendly event causes a nice scene and had to be threatened with the police before he and his friends would leave. I work for a company which has some stake in Comic Cons, and occasionally they ask people to help out. One year I volunteered to help out, and my job was basically to chaperone Starsky, Hutch and Huggy Bear. Lovely guys by the way, hilarious, and all found the thing a bit surreal. Guy at the table next to us was some voice actor who I occasionally had banter with, time to time. By banter I remember calling him a pervert and a pedophile a few times. Northern English banter. Guy was mid-40s easily but had a heap of work done. Halfway through the first day, 2 teenage girls came up for his autograph. I remember because Huggy Bear pointed them out. They were both dressed as his characters and spent ages taking photos and flirting. Anyway, day later they're back around 3 hours before close. He still has about 30 people waiting for autographs, but cuts the day short, grabs his money and goes off with these 2 girls. I thought it was weird, so decided to ask around. Turns out he's well known for going to these events to pull girls and is well known as a bit of a creep. Found it well weird he was into banging girls dressed as him. I worked security at a hotel during an oil convention. It was absolutely nuts. The whole town was pretty crazy, so the police would only show up for violence calls. I saw strippers, prostitutes in the pool and running down the halls naked. Lots of gambling and drinking all over. The single strangest thing was jello wrestling in the lobby. It's a 4-day convention and the first 2 days were the worst. Good thing it only happens every other year.